There are more CAFOs in southwest Missouri than any other part of the state, and we keep permitting them. As governor, would you support new legislation to stiffen the oversight and regulation of CAFOs?
Yes, clearly. As you know, I sat at this very table, 4 years ago with my Agriculture and Environment Division Director and talked about these very issues as Attorney General when we talked about trying to get a longer-term plan to deal with this, especially in southwest Missouri where you have thin soil and a water table that's going down. So you have both quantity and quality of water issues here, and those are extremely important issues when it comes to long term. And I think that throughout my history as Attorney General, I've stood up where others wouldn't and haven't when given the exact same opportunity as me. Whether it was suing Premium Standard Farms and getting $25 million for next generation technology that we bring in 3 professors from all across the country, the 3 experts, to lay out what new generation technology is so that we've dramatically cut the pollution. We're looking at alternative energy through there. We've dramatically cut the smell in those areas, or whether it's in the issues of siting of CAFOs near historic sites and parks. I mean, I was very opposed to that. I refused to defend the Department of Natural Resources when they did that. I think that it is a violation of the responsibility of the Department of Natural Resources, especially in a historic site where they are responsible, have joint responsibilities to care for those sites.
Do you support the creation of buffer zones around those sites?
Clearly, I think different sites are different in different places of the state. I mean, when you have 2 inches of soil here as opposed to 20 feet someplace else. But what we really want, ultimately, is what I call a good neighbor policy. I mean, and it sounds simplistic, but work with me on this for just a second. Farming has a rich history in this state, a history that provided a couple things. You were supposed to grow up on your farm, and you could then turn your farm over to your kids, and the land would be as rich, if not richer, than when you got it. And you were supposed to be a good neighbor to everybody that lived around you. And that has been dramatically changed by the advent of, in significant ways, of CAFOs in the state of Missouri. They have burned up the land with the increased nitrates and nitrogen and other things, and potassium and other things. Some areas made it too rich, some areas taken away oxygen, and secondarily, the smell has made it difficult in many areas of our state for folks to live next door. I understand that big agriculture is here. I understand that some of these systems are more efficient, but there's absolutely no way we should have to give up our way of life in rural Missouri of having the good neighbor policy of being able to turn your land over to your successors as rich as it was before. And coupled with that is the massive amounts of water that's being used in all of these operations. As you see the water table dropping in areas. Southwest Missouri is just not a great place to site these sizes of operations. I mean, they are. So when you talk about buffer zones, I mean, I want to make sure that when you go to historic sites and parks of the state of Missouri, that what you smell is I'm from a rural area. I understand that the smells exist out there and all that sort of stuff. But when you impede the use of parks and historic sites by smell, when you impede the water of the state of Missouri in quantity and quality, clearly we need to change of direction. I have been somebody who, as Attorney General, has stood up and has been as strong as any Attorney General in the country, quite frankly, in these areas, in suing folks, in not making excuses, and trying to lead the way to increase water quality and water quantity during this time frame. And that doesn't have anything to do with being a Democrat or Republican. I mean, PSF was recruited to come to the state by the administration of Governor Mel Carnahan and was sued by Attorney General Jay Nixon. I mean, it's not about Matt Blunt Jay Nixon or Kenny Hulshoff Jay Nixon or anything that sort of stuff. This is about
Do you think the state needs a new director of the DNR?
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
That's what elections are about.
If you were elected governor, would you support new legislation to stiffen the oversight and regulation of CAFOs?
I would, and as we chatted last time, and let me explain exactly where the compromise was that somehow lost its legislative steam. I'm a local control guy generally, and that is whether it's education or whether in this instance. I'm also mindful, though, that as I've had a great running discussion with one of my own county commissioners in the Missouri Association of Counties, and I've had this discussion with him as well. The Callaway plant is about 30 miles from our home in Columbia. I can't see the county commission saying, we're going to pass a health ordinance that says that having nuclear waste nearby is a health hazard, and therefore we're going to ban nuclear capabilities. First of all, that's obviously unconstitutional in my view because interstate commerce. But nonetheless, I am a local control proponent, and in 2007, the Missouri Farm Bureau, working with the Missouri Association of Counties, came up with a pretty good compromise that would allow county commissioners to grant approval to a Class 1 concentrated animal feeding operation. So therefore, they would have local say over whether or not to have an additional permit. The challenge, the balancing approach here is agriculture continues to be our #1 industry. I know tourism there's a healthy competition as to which is the #1 industry here. And so let's not decimate our #1 industry, but at the same time, surely there are ways that we can have reasonable, responsible ways to regulate, for instance, these concentrated animal feeding operations. And along with that, I think DNR, perhaps I think they already have via statute oversight authority. The question is whether they're using it appropriately, and then that may be another discussion for another time. But
it kind of leads into my last
okay. question
is, if named governor, would you appoint a new director to the Missouri DNR?
I don't know that. I don't have a position, yes or no. I haven't. I'm not ducking your question. I haven't even contemplated yet. People for the Highway Commission or for these department heads, or just other than saying the first executive order I will sign is going to be to turn the license fee offices into a competitively bid process to end the patronage system. The second executive order that I'm going to sign is going to create and establish an inspector general within the Office of Administration, not appointed by me, but appointed by prosecutors, judges, police chiefs, and judges to look at my own administration to make sure that there's no waste or fraud there. And ultimately, I would like to see some legislation that the Inspector General could go to all agencies to make sure there's more accountability. So on those are the only real things we've looked at. I haven't even thought about who would be the heads of these particular agencies.